welcome to our next session of our evening on infusing sustainability into design of 21st century. And we welcome our speaker, Mr. Saurabh Singh, and in conversation with Dr. Pallavi Chaudhary Vardhan. So before we start, a quick introduction. Mr. Saurabh Singh is an alumni of IISc Bangalore. In early 2003, he joined India's leading automobile company, Maruti Suzuki India Private Limited, as a creative designer. Mr. Saurabh played a key role in designing cars such as Esteem, Omni, Estilo, WagonR, and Alto. In the year 2008, he worked as a lead exterior designer for Maruti's first concept car, A-Star, and was awarded Young Achiever of the Year. A very warm welcome to Mr. Saurabh Singh at the CARTIST Festival 2020, and we look forward
Thank
to
you.
this session.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Just to introduce Dr. Pallavi, Dr. Pallavi Chaudhary Vardhan is an entrepreneurship specialist and an incubation expert, having worked in policy making, policy implementation, and advocacy roles in innovation and entrepreneurship domain. She spearheads the startup strategy and international collaboration vertical at Marwari Catalyst Venture, and in her prior roles, she has also worked with Niti Aayog. So, a very warm welcome to Pallavi, and Pallavi will be joining with Mr. Saurabh in this exciting session.
Thank you so much. So I'm pretty excited to begin this session. A very warm welcome, Mr. Saurabh. Should we get started?
Yeah, thanks, Pallavi. Yeah, let's start.
Absolutely. So a very relevant theme with respect to 21st century and present
Yes,
time.
right.
I'm pretty excited to ask a few questions. Let me begin by asking, what is your take and your narrative on the future of design in New India? And sort of contribution in sustainability with respect
Mhm.
to environment, resources, and economy. What is your take on this, Mr. Sarab?
Yeah. So, Pallavi, if you look at the design, okay, I belong to automobile design and mobility design field. So this in the complete, if you look at the whole gamut of design or the bigger umbrella of design, what's happening in India. So the automobile design field is relatively new, but if you look at the product design and look at the, I'll say more deep-rooted our sustainable design, because that's the theme today we are going to talk about. So if you look at that, there, I think it's pretty old. If you to the sense that if you actually look at our the way our parents or grandparents, used to advise us, or how our, well, I'll say senior members in our society still guide us. So there's a design thinking very deep rooted there, that every product should be used, reused, upcycled. So that
True.
philosophy was very much there. The formal education, yes, I'll say last 30, 40 years is when the whole design formal education in India has started in a big way. But I'll say design or sustainable design is something that is very deep rooted, and I always, whenever I visit places, it's always there are hidden gems of those knowledge that you come across, and
Right.
which I think makes it the whole experience very enriching. So yeah, the future is great, and we had a great legacy or past that we have with us. So I feel that way the field of design and the way things are moving, it's pretty strong and positive.
Right. So I think you feel the sustainability is very deep rooted in our Indian society, and with the formal education, not just Indian society, but the worldwide across. And now with the formal education, it's only getting stronger.
Yeah, yeah, true. Because what is happening, those values that we had, and I'm sure at individual level or at a small, I'll say local level, they were very
Right.
well practiced and very well, also taught. But what happened that that was still a local thing, and many times when we visit some local areas or some village or small towns, we still see those values being very well preserved and practiced. But formal education, what it has done is it has given us a base to fuse that local knowledge, or that the code that we have with the modern thinking, a modern way of looking at things, modern tools that we use in design. And then this fusion is something that helps us to create this beautiful sort of beautiful product language, or kind of product
Right.
aesthetics, that we can really with that we can impress global audience. I'm sure we have a very unique aesthetic taste and sense of design.
Absolutely, I agree absolutely on this. So while we've been talking on formal education bit, I would pretty interested also to know what is the starting point, or we call as a mool mantra, for those who are now seeking a career in design, or are passionate about design. How for them is their career trajectory, or how to begin in this way?
See, for a designer, I think I personally believed in that, and I practice the same myself. Is your core passion, uh, that you have to have the spark, you have to have that eye to see uniqueness and beauty in everyday things or things around us. That's the starting point. But one important thing, a trap that many people fall or don't realize, is design is also very demanding field. Being creative all the time is not easy. Fine, I can do a beautiful sketch or a nice sculpture or a painting or whatever, there are different domains once, but then if I'm asked to repeat it every week, every month, then that's not
True.
easy.
Right.
so so I think this appetite to be creative once in a while when I'm feeling good is okay. That I'm sure a lot of us have. A lot of us who are not formally trained as designers also have a lot of good abilities. But when
Right.
it comes as a career, we should realize that it demands every career has a certain demands, and there you have to have very deep what do you call ikigai, that flow in your thing. A continuum is required in your the whole working, that come what highs and lows and come what those challenging times, I'll sail through them. And yes, I have to achieve this dream and passion that I have, but then I have to also go through these highs and lows. So for my advice to youngsters would be that, okay, fine, you're passionate, that's fine, but then passion has to result in a lot of midnight oil being burned, and those you
True.
have to
Fair
really
enough.
really put those hardcore working hours, man women hours, into working on
Right.
things. And then don't just feel, okay, today I'm feeling good and I did this, and I'm passionate, look at my work. Don't see it like that, and look at it, fine, I have done something, and now I have to set a target for yourself, and set a stringent target as a student. Okay,
Right.
let me solve a problem, and come
Right.
but may have to do it within a week. So then within the box being there and how you deliver is, I think,
Right.
if you really feel that you have that ikigai, inside you, that burning desire, don't know, I'll sail through it, and then I think you are getting ready for design field.
Very true. I think this is very, kind of a clear perspective that we have on this. I
Yeah,
think so. What we take away from this is that passion is not enough. Perseverance
yeah,
is also what
yeah.
is required,
Very important, very
and left side and right side of the brain has to come together to.
balance. Yes.
Right, absolutely. So before going forward, I have lot many questions. Should we begin with the PPT, or should I ask questions? Or
Maybe we'll just roll through the PPT once,
yeah,
so that
sure,
maybe I'll just share my thoughts. These are just some examples I picked from the net, So honestly,
absolutely.
but I think it sets the context very nicely. So I just want
Right.
to go. So maybe you
So
can
team,
somebody
I
share?
just request you to please share the screen for the PPT.
Yes. So basically, these are some examples picked honestly randomly from net. So these are
Right.
not my work or my team's work. These are just some examples, just to
Sure.
share, what's happening in the field, and then from there I'll just talk about why I like these products.
Sure.
So then maybe then we can have a better connect. Okay,
Right.
next please. So okay, this is an example where you have, like, honestly, a everyday wooden stool scenario, but the way it's decorated, if you look at the top surface and you look at the way those, I really don't know the material, because it's just a image that I picked, but the way the product is designed, and the way
Right.
the CMF, I'll say, the detailing and the texture and the top print, if you look at that, that adds such a unique taste to it. If it would have been just a bold red painted, if you imagine the top surface where the flower pot is kept, if you imagine that surface in a bright red color, I think it would not look so beautiful and aesthetic. But just that in
Right.
the top surface is a nice, that the tasteful print given, and the designer would have thought in detail about that, and the color of that, and
Right.
the color and texture of that. That really makes it special.
Right.
Next, yeah. Okay, now these are some example of again upcycling where that's another thing in India, that we have, and I think we are really good at this that
Right.
we have some scrap and we have these old bottles and plastic PET bottles or things or footwear or items that we have and no longer use. So instead of throwing, if we can, young designers especially, and anybody who is keen, and sometimes as a DIY hobby, if we can
Right.
teach our kids, to really convert those into a day-to-day interesting element, then somehow start appreciating it. You don't see it as junk, see it as a possibility. So I think
Yes.
that eye for detail is something that we need to create in ourselves and our next generation of young designers.
This
Yeah,
is beautiful.
next. Yeah.
See, next slide, please. Yeah.
Again, old barrels, drums that obviously and typically at times are thrown or maybe used for some other purpose, but if you upcycle
Right.
it and you actually create a very art tasteful piece of furniture, or in case of this, in a sanitary where it has been used in, I think, a public washroom or something, and
Right.
look at the taste it is carrying. It's no longer the same old black or green drum. It's super upcycled, and then its perceived value is enhanced so high that um, I would love to have it in my place. So
Right.
that's one. And look at the cycle. These are the cycles that are at times lying on at times scrap yards or people no longer use, but same thing
Absolutely.
used in a setting and given a aesthetic treatment and a little bit of design thoughtful treatment, then it transforms into something very beautiful and
Very
aesthetic.
beautiful.
So I
Absolutely.
think the key word is upcycling and up, up improving and enhancing the value of the product through its either
Right.
functionality, through its aesthetic beauty. You can take any theme and then it's up to the creativity
Work
of the
on it.
designer. Yeah, work on it. Yeah. Next. This is again a very classic where I'm sure
Wow.
Himanshu and his team, at Cartist, a lot of designers are doing this, where the parts of the car sometimes it's so rusted and so old and worn that you cannot actually functionally use it. But then still, it will have a lease of life once you upcycle it and transform into a different piece of furniture. And again, somebody would have seen that part and saw that beauty still, that it's alive. It's no longer a scrap, but probably it has a potential. And the
Right.
moment you see it, and then through your passion and obviously a lot of hard work has gone, it's not just cut piece, a lot of thoughtful preparation and finishing has gone into it. So
Right.
through that treatment, now it has a new lease of life, and probably it will last another 20, 30 years. So the car would have
Right.
lasted 30, 40 years, and again this furniture would last another 20, 30 years. So imagine, the whole span you have increased, and instead of becoming resource heavy, you have same resources being used, and
Exactly.
it's more sustainable. Yeah. Next.
Wonderful.
Again, similar examples, barrels. So again, as I said, these are random examples from the internet, but I'm sure around us, some of us I would have seen in either some
Right.
maybe hotels or theme hotels or maybe at places, and obviously Himanshu at Cartist also. You guys, they are
Right.
doing a lot of such exciting things. Yeah. Next. This is another thing. This is, I won't say really waste, but this is a way to look at things. This is an office scenario, an office table, and there this guy is
Right.
using actually a cycle instead of a normal chair.
Ah,
So it's
right.
about being healthy, because many times we talk about sedentary lifestyle and you don't move much, and you are it's not healthy,
True.
and we talk about that. So, but through this, he's just sitting and put his cycle on that small trainer wheels, and then
Right.
he's also able to do some exercise and as well as work. So again, this is a random thought, but ideas like this can, when
Quite
work out very
innovative,
well.
I think.
No, but in today's day and age, when we are confined to workplaces, we cannot
Right.
move around so much. So these can be actually very exciting new ideas, which can create a very healthy lifestyle, a sustainable lifestyle.
True.
Next. This is an example of a slipper in which the insoles are replaceable, and depending on your usage,
Okay.
and here is about therapy, a massage, or certain particular pressure therapy you need, or a normal thing. So it's changeable. So instead of buying multiple products, you buy one sleeper, and then you can just
Oh,
change the insoles, and through that change, you can create multiple use scenario. So it's like less on resources, and something one base can be customized and used in multiple ways.
sure.
Yeah, next. Again, example of some very tasteful classic furniture, sitting stools, lampshades, or the classic product design. So again, here is how those very basic natural elements. It's not about extravagance, So here in all these products, one thing you would have realized is it's about sticking to the basic functional aesthetic, but then doing it so tasteful that it looks superlative. So you don't have to actually add those silver or chrome or gold highlights or ornaments. I can actually do a very basic, nice, beautiful aesthetic, something very clean and minimal, yet very, very high in taste. That's the key message. Next.
Right.
Again, these are some toys I really liked. Looking at them, that it's inspired from a nature bunny theme, but how this children scooters can be made so aesthetically pleasing and exciting. So yes,
Wow.
obviously you have to imagine those bunny wheels at those handlebars, and the moment
Yeah.
you start seeing them, you just can't stop admiring them. So again, the beautiful CMF aesthetic, the proportion, the way it's all designed. So it's something very exciting. Next. This is one thing that we have done. This example that we did as a design studio, when we launched the
Okay.
new Desire, which is being sold in the market. So we did a journal event in which we actually took fiberglass shells, and then we asked people to paint it. So these are some
Okay.
examples that were painted. Some of them were done by our designers, and so these are
Wow.
art cars. So again, this is similar to what Imanshu and his
Right.
team at CARTIST are
They've been
doing.
doing.
Again, it's about doing things differently, and so this obviously a real car would not be like this, but this is just to inspire you and to give you new thoughts and ideas and creative ideas that what can be done and what are the possibilities, and you never
Right.
know. So one exercise like that uh, can spark new thoughts and new ideas in you.
Very true.
Yeah, so that's all in terms of presentation. These are some images I just wanted to talk about so that we have the context and we
Right.
uh,
I think these are
yeah.
beautiful
So
images which we just saw, and I think the crux here is this upcycling really makes the useful life of a product. It enhances that useful life, is it? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, precisely. Upcycling is a concept. We always talked about recycling, but upcycling, I think in India we probably need to talk more of upcycle, because recycle somehow we don't have a positive image. We say, okay, fine,
right.
it's recycled. Maybe it's not that good, but upcycle immediately takes it to a
Right.
different level. So I think that's what we should be looking at. I personally believe in upcycling a lot. I've done some work on some stools and all at home in my spare time, in which I took a basic old
Okay.
stool and upcycled into, maybe towards the end I'll try to show you some images. But yeah,
For
yeah,
sure. So,
yeah,
what brings to my next question is, while we've been talking about upcycling, like laymen, they generally don't, I guess, understand the difference between recycling and upcycling. Is
yeah,
there a
yeah, yeah.
functionality difference between both of them?
Yes,
Is there
yes,
the
yes.
designing difference? If you can
Yeah.
just throw a little
So
light on
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, what's the difference is that, see, recycle is something that I'm using a product, for example, a car, which is no longer in use, functional use. So what I do, I take apart all the components, and then maybe the metal, I'll scrap metal and then melt it, and maybe I'll create some new metal bars or something out of it, and then use it for different purpose. Or maybe plastic, I'll melt the plastic and uh, clean it, and then those plastic can be used to create some other products which probably are of slightly inferior quality, because the plastic, the number of times you
Right.
heat it, the quality of the functionality of the core properties of the plastic, they go down.
Okay. Right. Sure. So that is the difference. And I think with these images
Yeah,
that you've shown,
yeah.
uh,
So
it, yes,
sorry.
please
So
carry.
basically, upcycling would be slightly different. Upcycling is where, like I gave the example of the car hood being, or Jeep front. So there, the portion of the car, I retain the identity of that, but give
Oh,
it a
yeah.
totally new use, totally new
Okay.
use. So that
Right.
was converted into a table. So suddenly that product aesthetic transforms, and I see it in a very different light. So
Right.
now I'm not seeing it as a product that was old or was scrap. I see it something totally beautiful, totally fresh, and very thoughtful design of a new
Right.
function. So that's upcycling.
Absolutely. Okay. So now I think we are more clear on this aspect, and our viewers also more clear on this. Thank you for throwing some light on this. And as we've seen these beautiful images, we saw they are high on the utility value, high on the aesthetic
Yes,
value. And this
yes.
gets me to the next question, Mr. Sara, which is how does design and art coexist together on big platforms such as in automobile industry and in other big and heavy industries? How these amalgamate together to
Mhm.
serve the purpose in terms of utility, and how art and this comes together?
See, that's a very classic debate which used to have as students, in college, and I'm sure every designer will always have this thing going on in his
Mhm.
mind, art versus design. So I'll tell you my definition. I still don't think there is a perfect definition of the same, but see, art is something that you would do purely for your own love and passion. I
Um,
believe in something, I create something. I really don't know. I really don't worry also that, suppose, for example, I give an example, then I think it's easier to understand. I do a painting. Okay, so this is a painting that I had certain emotion. I wanted to express certain aspect of kind of life that I see around me, and I portrayed that through those emotions, and I put it on a piece of canvas and painted. I really don't care or don't know what people think about it, how will they react to it. I just do it because I wanted to express myself. So that pure connect that you have, your heart to your hand or your expression, but ultimately hand is the expression for a designer.
right.
That connect is art. But when there is a logic, when there is a purpose, when there is a bigger need, when there is a bigger reason of doing it, that becomes design. Because then you
Uh-huh.
start putting those additional filters, because now you care about others. So in design, inherently is about caring for others. You always think about others, that what would they think, what would the user, suppose I put the jeep, for example, the example of cut piece, as a art. If I do it purely as a art, I would just chop the jeep piece, and maybe I just don't want to do anything. Maybe let it be rusted, let it be having sharp corners or something. I'll just put it inside my house, and I think this is it. I don't want to touch it because I like it like that. That's art, because it's just my
Right.
heart. But then as a design, when I see it, I will worry about the user. What if it falls and topples on somebody? What if somebody puts a hand on the corner and you cut your fingers? What if while using it is shaky? And what will happen to that? So all those considerations, if I start building into while thinking about it, that becomes design.
Wonderful.
So I don't know if it was easier to explain, but
No, no, I think
so
in a crux, what I would say is art is the raw form, and art with a purpose is sort of a design.
yeah,
It
so art
gets
with some
done from
the objective and a purpose becomes more focus and design.
design.
And then yeah, then it's your passion plus logic plus purpose
Gotcha.
plus something.
Right. Lot of things going into design
and
now.
and, and automobile design is art is there little bit. Passion, yes, bit, but then there's a bigger logic, purpose, the huge.
Right.
So
Absolutely. Fair
but I,
enough.
I i i I love it, I enjoy it. So that's your
Right.
appetite,
Sure.
as a designer. Yeah.
Also, now I will ask a question from my experience. I work in startup ecosystem and startup domain
Mm,
for quite a
mm,
time,
mm,
and have been
mm,
worked with a lot of
mm,
startups
mm, mm.
working in this domain of recycling, upcycling, sustainability management,
Yes,
and all
yes.
of those things. How important do you think is startup-led innovation in this industry when we talk of core designing or when we talk of automobile designing per se? How important do you think is this startup led innovation? Also, the other aspect of this is we have realized through our startup that acceptance of these products in the market does not come easy. So, still, the market is fragmented. So, something needs to be done on part of all of the stakeholders, like automobile companies, government, you
Hmm.
to sort of build a conducive ecosystem around this where the acceptance of these products amongst users and customers come into place. What is your opinion on this, on innovation and acceptance?
Okay, so the first point, the startup culture per se, I feel is very important for any economy, and definitely crucial for India, because we have the kind of population and kind of varied needs we have. One, expecting that big MNCs and they understand each and every customer is not possible. So you need those again those sparks of innovation happening around you, which understand a thing in a particular context and are fast enough and agile enough to incorporate that. See, the biggest difference between startup and a big setup, at least the way I see, is the agility. They're super agile because they have nothing to lose. They want to try some new idea, so they would just go ahead and do it. A bigger setup would take time. They would deliberate. They would think a lot
True.
about it. So so in that process you might miss that opportunity, or it might take longer than expected time. So that's where the startup culture becomes very crucial for the whole, I'll say, innovation, because they really push the boundaries, and I think it's very very important, and I'm really glad that finally is happening in a big way in India.
Right.
It's always there. I think the startup, the thought process was always there, but somehow we were either calling it as jugaad. We are calling this as frugal engineering, or the very different words. But
Right.
finally I think we are understanding what quality is, and even at startup, that basic level, people are appreciating and they are going with quality, because otherwise if you don't do it, it's a sideline, or people say, okay, fine, is good idea, but nothing really to execute, because they never saw that quality context in that. But now with this changing mindset, I think it's people are really appreciating, and this whole innovation is coming packaged in a way that you can accept it from day one, and you will see. But the one example of, I won't say the best example, but one good execution is what Korea, Taiwan, or China, in all these countries have done, especially I'll say Korea, and in a big way, and China also definitely. What they have done is they took new ideas. Obviously, the way they took was somehow was at times not good, because either it was copying or something. But then they executed in a decently good quality, and they started doing it from trial and error. But they realized quality is also important. So today, if you look at Korean products or Taiwanese, or I'll say some Chinese, not all Chinese, but they have really reached a good quality level. And if you
True.
visit there and see those companies, they are not necessarily huge setups. There are small companies, but they're very agile, and they're very quick to learn and adapt. So
Absolutely.
I think
Right.
that's where we have to learn from at least these these examples,
Right.
and see what can be done, what more can be done. Obviously, it's happening, but I think more is to be done in India.
Right. I think it's great to know your opinion on this, and it has been a wonderful discussion, Mr. Saurabh, with you. And we came to know, I think, the difference between upcycling, recycling, the difference between
Yeah,
art and design. That's the eye opener and the stunner
definitely.
for the session. And so good to have you with us. And we, is there the last message that you would want our audience to, as a takeaway for them?
See,
Alvan?
yeah. So one thing I would like to, through this platform, I'm sure there are some lot of passionate designers, artists, young budding designers who are there connected through this platform, or maybe listening to us right now. I'm not sure. So what I would like to tell them is that, first of all, whatever you do, believe in that creative abilities you have right now. Fine, you might compare, you might see, okay, I'm doing this, or maybe it's there, I'm doing this kind of design, it's not up to the mark, but please keep doing it. Please have that ikigai in your thought process, in your working. Please have that continue. Please keep practicing it. Also, while doing so, make sure that quality, what do you call perceived design quality, or the core sense of quality should always be there, because that is what will actually catapult you from a just a, a designer who is just making something, into a person who really knows what good taste is, what good quality,
Right.
what good execution is. And then you will see the interest in your products or your creations, whatever you do a art piece, or do a product design, or you do upcycling. Suddenly you'll see that everybody taking you more seriously, and then that's a big motivator in life, because there are many people who keep trying, doing new things. And I met such people, startups also at times. They say that, no, हमने इतना किया, इतना कुछ try किया, but then कोई आता नहीं है, nobody appreciates our work. So I'll say, you have to actually zoom out. Sometimes we are so deep focus in our
Zoomed
work
in,
that we
yes.
say कि बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं हम, बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं, देखो इतना कुछ किया. Zoom out किया, and then you start looking, no, I should look at more critically, like outsider, and critique my work, my own work. And when you start doing it yourself, then you are your best judge. You know, okay, I was kiya to tha, but then there are gaps, maybe I could have done more, or I could have done it like this for a better impact. So with that self critique, so you're not waiting for outside somebody to come and throw that light or say good or bad. You can yourself do that judgment and first level of filtering. So when you actually go out to the masses or go out to your customers or your audience or whichever platform you're using, you will already see your work execution going to the next level. And then
Right.
from there, the feedbacks that you get, and then you incorporate whatever. Obviously, you have to filter down the feedback. You get lots of comments and suggestions. You don't have to take everything, just take
True.
what is relevant to you, but then you take that and you further enhance your work. So with this continuous improvement, what we call in Japan, Japanese kaizen, the continuous improvement concept is more production
True.
oriented. But then if you do it in design also, this continuous improvement, then you see in coming maybe within a year or few months, you already
Sure.
are doing much better than what you were earlier. So with this approach, I would like to at least tell this young audience or any people connected on this platform is that
Great.
please, please keep keep the self critique. Please look, always zoom out, zoom in to do good work, but zoom out to evaluate your work and be critical with yourself. You don't have to shout and call many people. You can just have a good talk with yourself and your work and say whether
Sure.
really it works. And then from there, you improve and you move on.
Fair enough. I think that that's the wonderful piece of advice to close the session with. Thank you, Mr. Saurabh, for being with us, and we look forward to having you more often with us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
It was
so
great,
much.
great. We are being connected with artists, and all the best for your event. I'm sure this is the first day, and
Yes.
rest of the days there'll be more exciting things. So looking forward to some new exciting ideas happening at
Thank you
Cartist.
so much.
All the very
Thank you
best.
so much. Stay safe.